So as we were saying earlier, there's a lot of very exciting things going on in the water space in Mexico right now. So maybe we could get your view on what the status is and what we can look for in the near future. What's going on?
Well, thank you for the invitation. As we commented before, Mexico is facing really a lot of challenges related to water. Water is a very hot topic at the moment, and it's very high in the government agenda for the next years. In fact, there is a water agenda designed until the year 2030. And there is also an ambitious program of investment in water. We can expect investments over $30 billion over the next 4 years in water infrastructure. And we can say that there are needs from the water treatment for the industry, for residential use, of course, also to update the transport and storage network as well of the country.
Right.
So I think now it's a huge market. The market will keep growing at least for the next 10 to 15 years.
Right.
So there's room to grow. And there's a huge opportunity for all the Aquatech exhibitors to go over there.
Yeah, because when we chatted before the show, and we were talking about how there is opportunity really in every sector of the water and wastewater business. One of the topics that we talked about was the idea of universal access. What does that mean?
Well, at the moment, around 92% of the population in Mexico has access to clean water. And less than that percentage, around less than 90% has access to sewage systems, and that goes even lower in rural areas.
Wow!
So there's still a lot of
there's a lot of work to do to make sure everybody has drinking water and sanitation that they need.
That's it.
And that 10%, given the size of Mexico, is 15 million people, more or less, who the size of some countries in Europe. So that investment is going to be needed. And as well, given the economic growth in Mexico, especially on the industrial side, with all these new auto plants going in and other industrial projects going in, all of them have to include wastewater treatment in their infrastructure and their investment. So that's also another great opportunity for companies. And really that was one of the reasons why we decided to launch Aquatech Mexico. So we will have an event, obviously a bit smaller than Aquatech here, next year in Mexico, and we're co-locating it beside our Green Expo, which is Mexico's largest and longest running environmental and green energy show.
Oh, so sounds like a great matchup.
Which already has, over 10,000 attendees, and of those 10,000 attendees, almost 30% are looking for water solutions. So it's going to be a great opportunity in the Mexican market. So
in addition to the industrial water topics, what are some of the other major themes that you expect to cover at Aquatech Mexico?
Well, I think it's going to, as I said, all aspects. So definitely from potable water, that's a big issue. And as Victor mentioned, 92% have access to clean drinking water. So there's still an expansion there to put in new water purifying or drinking water plants, purification plants. All aspects of the sewage system. Mexico, lots of mountains, earthquakes.
Sure.
So maintenance and operation of the sewage system is always a big issue. Certainly in the rural areas especially, and as the country grows, because Mexico is growing still. Probably a little bit too fast, but it's growing. And then definitely the wastewater treatment aspects, and as well as you mentioned, the industrial use. Industrial,
of course, because it's also growing. Energy is a big industry in Mexico. The food industry is a big industry, and they are very intensive in the use of water. And I would add also flood protection. It's a hot topic at the moment. We recently have a big menace there in Mexico. Storm water is also something that is very high also in the political agenda. So there are opportunities there as well.
Actually, that's an interesting point. If I could dive into that a little more deeply, I know at least in the U.S. we hear a lot about green infrastructure for stormwater management, trying to manage that sort of first inch with natural solutions, bioswales, green roofs. Is there as much of a driver in Mexico for green infrastructure, or are you finding that gray is what it suits, what solves the problem for you the best?
Well, I would say that we are kind of in a preliminary stage there. In fact, the government has now plans for creating a hurricane agency, let's say. We are in the, they need to create the alerts first to protect the, let's say, the
so
population.
Just to make sure there's the warning system in place.
Yeah, the warning system is not still in place.
Yeah.
They are collaborating quite actively there with the US, by the way. So it's still, well, a lot to do there.
And with the recent example with Hurricane Patricia, it was a good example. The warnings were quite extensive, and it's one of the first times a major hurricane like that has hit Mexico, and there were no deaths.
Yep.
I mean, it's also lucky where it landed. It was between two cities and not in a very rural area, but still, that is a big issue.
Maybe a good test run. I mean,
exactly.
So yeah, wow, that's great. We talked also about sort of source water protection and the importance of that. What are some of the challenges there with protecting? I mean, I'm assuming that a lot of your drinking water supply is coming from source water, or is it mostly groundwater, or do you?
Source water, groundwater. We can say that approximately 50% of wastewater is not treated.
Okay.
So that is contaminating water sources. So that's a big challenge there.
Right.
In fact, one of the topics of the 2030 agenda is guaranteeing the clean water bodies in the country.
Right.
So of course there is also a lot of things to do there.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And Mexico City in particular is a unique challenge. Well, for many reasons, 25 million people, one of them. But it because it is so urbanized and so many people there, there's not a lot of green space for the rainwater to penetrate through the earth to refill the aquifer.
Interesting.
So Mexico City could be sinking if we keep using too much water and we don't get to replenish the aquifer. And the drainage system to collect the rainwater. Mexico has a huge rainy season, from April, May to October. So there are opportunities there, and they're not, because of how the country has developed over the years, there's not the necessary infrastructure to allow rainwater easily to get back into the earth. So that's something that is also being discussed quite a bit.
Yeah, and that actually makes me wonder a little bit about wastewater reuse. Has that gained any traction?
Somewhat, but what were you saying? Only 10%?
Yeah, well, in the industry, only 10% of water is really reused into the cycle, of the manufacturing cycle. So, of course, there are a lot of opportunities, and also around 90% of the equipment used by the industry, water treatment equipment, is imported. That means that it's not a lot of local manufacturers, and there is definitely opportunity for exporters to get a piece of the market.
Yeah.
And another big one for reusing water that companies are trying to do is the mining industry. Mining is quite big in Mexico, and certainly with all the foreign mining companies coming in, they're also getting pressure from their head offices to be more environmentally sustainable. So they're improving the track record of the mining companies in Mexico.
Oh, that's great. So are we seeing some technologies maybe for heavy metal removal, that kind of stuff, so that those streams can be cleaned?
And lots of opportunities, because at the end of the day, if it's a mine that's coming from Canada or coming from Australia, they use that technology in other places. So they're planning, as they develop the mine in Mexico, they're bringing that in.
Wow.
And then that gets spread around the country. The Mexican mines see it as well. So.
Excellent.
So I mean, really, it is a land of opportunity for water and wastewater in particular in Mexico, and that's why we want everyone to come to Aquatech Mexico next year.
And tell us when that is.
That is October 26th to 28th in Mexico City. Next year, 2016, will be our launch event, and we're certainly expecting a great event that will continue to grow over the years.
Well, we certainly wish you a lot of luck. Do you expect that to be an annual event at this point?
Most likely. The Green Expo is annual, so we'll see. There is a possibility that could be every 2 years, but I think given the development in Mexico, probably annually
justifies having an annual. Well, we wish you all the best of luck, and we'll be watching that very closely. And
thanks very much.
Very excited to see that come to fruition. So, Paul, thank you very much for being with us. We appreciate it. Victor,
thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your insights. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.